So welcome back, guys, to another video. And I like to change things up every once in a while on this channel. I like to do something a little different, throw a little curveball, whether it be a let's play, a pickups video review, some gaming memories. And if you guys are watching this for the first time and you guys are not a part of the community, I do have an Xsgaming podcast group page on Facebook where actually, I didn't want it to be a like page. I want it to be more of a community, because being a host of a podcast, I feel like is crucial that I get to know the community and get to know other content creators. And in that way, I kind of wanted to make a page where they can share their content, share their podcast, share their hobbies, and we all get to know each other. And at the end of the day, we all help each other out and, blossom into friendships and all that gooey stuff. But I thought that was a really good idea. But the other day I was working and I came up with something. I was like, you know what? How about some discussions with the group and turn that into a video? So this is the first episode of Xsgaming Podcast Group Talk. This is dedicated to the Facebook group page that you guys can join. If you haven't, just check out the link on the description below, and there's also a little buffer at the end of the video in case you want to check it out, as well as the audio podcast with my co-host James Gruesome. Now, in the first episode, I was asking a question about reproduction cards, and if you don't know what a reproduction card is, it's kind of self-explanatory. A reproduction card is a fan-made cartridge, and it could be either a ROM hack or homebrew. It could also be a translated cart of a game that we never got here in a certain region. Also just be a reproduction of a game that's really hard to find. And I was asking the group that owning these reproduction carts, does it still the magic of having that game in your collection? Because deep down it's not the real deal. And does that still the magic? Do you still feel satisfied knowing that you have a second-hand version of a game that you want? Now, I got a couple answers, and a lot of people are agreeing with each other, but I want to point out some of the key points. Aaron Reviewer, aka Heavy Metal Gamer Show, he said, I don't mind them, especially if it's used or hard to find homebrew or hack, but I think it can be a little bit expensive, and I do agree with that. That's the only thing about some of these homebrews and reproductions, is they can be kind of expensive, and rightfully so. I mean, these people are taking some of these carts and just making them from scratch, and also some of them are using donor carts as well. I know if you want to get, I believe, Mr. Gimmick, a lot of people are using Batman Return of the Joker on the NES. They're using that as a donor cart to make Mr. Gimmick, and that can kind of cause some problems as well, later on down the line with collections, because everyone's going to be wanting Mr. Gimmick, and I've noticed that Batman Return of the Joker has really went up in price since this has been going on. Now, Tag, my friend Tag, also known as the Power Metal Gamer, he says if it was a game like Chrono Trigger or Earthbound, I wouldn't mind them on a repo cart, especially since they were never released in the PAL region. Now, I never knew that. I didn't know that you guys over in Europe never got Chrono Trigger or Earthbound. That's crazy. And yeah, I mean, my point exactly would be like a game like Secret of Mana 2. We never got that here in the States. It was teased to us in various magazines, but we never got it. But you can actually get an English translation on a cart and enjoy it on your Super Nintendo, and that's really, really cool. Also, my friend Chris, BioPhoenix off of YouTube, says I have two on the Super NES. I have a ROM hack of Super Mario World, and the other is a fan translation of Ys 4. So I don't mind them. The only problem is people selling them as legit, and he says that's kind of shitty, and that's another thing. These reproduction carts are really, really cool, but there's some bad people that try to make these things, and they'll try to sell these games as legit. I think that if someone's going to make a reproduction card, you have to put reproduction somewhere on the label, maybe change the color of the cartridge, give it its own identity, so you're not trying to fool people on eBay. I've seen Earthbound on eBay, a reproduction for $30 to $40, Even Dracula X on eBay, I've seen it for $30 to $40, but they've made sure to say it was reproduction. And you know, I've also heard horror stories where people have bought an Earthbound and find out that it was a bootleg. And that's essentially what these are. These are bootlegs, but it just sounds better saying reproduction. Okay, now let's see. A lot of people were agreeing with that. And, you know, Sean Jenkins, he says, repos are a touchy subject. I actually would support them as long as it's not passes the original. You know, I think that's the broad sense of it. A lot of people are open-minded and they don't mind these reproductions, especially since, you know, retro gaming is becoming so popular and it's getting hard to find these games, and it does beat emulation. You know, you don't have to play on your computer, you can play it on the original hardware. And you know, there's a lot of reproductions that I wish I could own. You know, Sweet Home on the NES, that was kind of like the precursor to Resident Evil. I would love to have that game as a reproduction. And also another really fun game, The Fireman on Super Nintendo. I was actually talking to my friend Devin about that earlier today at lunch. I was like, yeah, The Fireman. It was like a top-down shooter, but instead of, like, you know, shooting aliens, you were firemen and you were rescuing these people in these buildings and, you know, taking care of fires and stuff like that. It sounds really hokey, but it was actually a really fun game, a really fun co-op game. And with the use of reproductions, we can actually enjoy this on our Super Nintendo. So I think the jury's in. The majority of the people in the group page really love reproduction carts, but you know, they think the same way I do. Reproduction carts are awesome, but be sure to make the sellers and buyers know that we have to know that this is a reproduction. Don't sell it as something original. That's the biggest thing. And you know, some of these people that put out some of these reproduction carts really put a lot of time and a lot of love into them. Not just a cartridge, but you'll actually get a box, you get a manual, a map. I mean, you guys are looking at Secret of Mana 2 right now, and I believe that was from a old website called Time Walk Games. They used to make a lot of these reproductions, and sadly they're no longer around, but their reproductions were a pretty penny, but you got what you paid for. It felt like a legit Super Nintendo game. But what are some of your thoughts, guys, about the reproduction card? Yay or nay? Does it still the magic? Me personally, I just love video games. I'm glad that people have a chance to still enjoy them in some shape or form. As always, guys, leave a comment below, join the discussion on YouTube, and most importantly, join the discussion on Xsgaming Podcast group page on Facebook. I'll be doing these every once in a while because I like to kind of make sure you guys are involved as well in these videos. You know, I might make a video later on down the road, instead of talking about my favorite RPG, I'll talk about my favorite RPG, but I might want you guys to talk about your memories and your favorite RPG. I think that's a really good idea. If you guys really enjoyed this, be sure to let me know with a comment below. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and as always, happy gaming. Can't get enough of the Xsgaming Podcast? Be sure to check out the audio podcast on podomatic.com, or you can also subscribe to us on iTunes. Also, if you have a YouTube channel or podcast you like to share, be sure to check out the Xsgaming Podcast Facebook group page and join our community. All the links are below, and as always, guys, thank you so much for all your support.